Good morning. Welcome to Mornings with Michael and Aloha Friday to everybody. Um, we have Bitcoin down here down to 60,500. It trends higher and then a big sell-off down to 60,000, about 900, and then we got a bounce again. So that is what's going on there. We got a big beat on employment hiring, up 100,000. Came in at 254,000 compared to 150,000, and earnings went up to 4% from 3.9%. This is an inflation gauge that people will be watching, and unemployment fell to 4.1% from 4.2%. So that is a story there. Let us go to a word of the day. A word of the day is fartlek, a system of training for distance runners in which the terrain and pace are continually varied to eliminate boredom and enhance psychological aspects of conditioning. Today, my coach has me doing fartlek training, combining sprints, slow runs, and hill challenges. So that's a word of the day. We go over to the S&P 500. We refresh everything. Earlier, it is bouncing. Broadcom is up. AMD is up nicely, mostly up. Chevron is down a little bit. Financials are mostly up. Wells Fargo has got a big bounce, and it's kind of a mixed bag everywhere else. Home Depot is down 2%. So let us go over, if you're at all concerned about your retirement, you spent a lifetime building up your wealth, and now you don't want a 2008 crisis to reinvigorate it. So this account beats index investing by about 5% per year. That's quite a bit. It only goes up when the market goes up. When the market goes down, it does not come down. So it keeps going up the step. If you'd like to learn more about this and the bonuses that are available, feel free to send a comment. And now we're going to go over to our charts. So this is our IPO of the day, Reddit, popping into the buy zone here. We did add a little bit this morning on this move. So that's a story with Reddit. Let us go to our dollar. Dollar is gapping up. This is almost looks like a Bitcoin. No moves this week. Gap up here, gap up here, gap up here, and a gap up here. Up 0.67% today. Silver tried to break out and then pulls back. Still up 0.55%. Gold sells off on the strength of the dollar, down 0.32%. Copper tried to move higher and pulls back to the 10-day moving average. And look at FCX. Gapped up and is on its low. Arrow, we'll just take a look around. It's up, got to its 10-day moving average before it sold it off. Tech, gapped up, and finally Southern Copper. Got a gap up. Looks like they're trying to fill this gap down area. So let us go to uranium. Look at that big move by Cameco today. All the energy for power plant needed for AI. And Denison Mines is popping up as well. It's had reached 247, had quite a sell-off. Got a double bottom here. You clear the double bottom right over here. If you're going to be buying, this would be a great place to buy. Goes up to the 200-day moving averages, pulled back, and it has now cleared the 200-day moving average. So that is the story with Denison Mines. Let us go to our bond yields. Look at the bond yields just soaring. up almost 3% today. Wow. Up to 3.96% yield. We look at the 20-year up 2.36 up to 3.12%. Just take a look at the bonds. It's a sell-off, selling out of bonds, I guess maybe moving into stocks. Let us go over to our VIX. VIX sold off quite a bit and it is bouncing, still saying right around the 20 number. It's pretty interesting. We'll have a deeper look on Sunday at all of this, but let's go over to the S&P 500. S&P 500 moved up higher and then sold off, up 0.3%. The equal weight on the S&P did about the same, still up 0.3% for the day. The NASDAQ kind of replicated what the S&P is doing. The equal weight looks about the same. IWM, about the same. Still up 1%, which is considerable with the big move in bonds. Bond yields can put a lot of pressure on the small capitalization index. Dow Jones moves up slightly, 0.21%. They all moved higher and then have sold off. What does that exhibit on a candlestick? That is a shooting star. It's mainly bearish, so we'll have to keep our eyes open on that. Financials. Looks like we got a little gap up here. Take a look at Wells Fargo. It seemed to be the shining star. It gapped up on Wells Fargo, up 2.6%. Commercial services up slightly. Meta continues moving on up. Real estate, big sell-off today, falls to its 50-day moving average. Utilities, they gap down to the 10-day moving average. And look over at biotech. Biotech is up slightly. Got a shooting star kind of look to it. Same with the IBB. Let's move over to semiconductors. They're moving up. They were up higher earlier. Pulling back a little bit. Infrastructure, consumer discretionary, where Amazon and Tesla are. So look at Tesla here. Tried to move higher and now is on the low of the day as well. Amazon got turned away at the 10-day moving average. Consumer staples up slightly to its 50-day moving average. Healthcare is selling off again. Building materials tried to move up to the 10-day. Looks pretty close to filling the gap. Metals and mining got a nice bounce. They have definitely filled the gap down yesterday, up 1.5%. Home builders are being turned away, much like real estate. Fang Yu looks like it's popping above the 10-day moving average here. Pretty low volume. So that's kind of a look there. Let us go to our news of the day. Marine Max provides update on impact from Hurricane Helene. saying forecast full year adjusted EBITDA low end of 155 million to 190 million range. The market liked this as it's up 9% today. Rivian lowered its full year production forecast to between 47,000 and 49,000 vehicles, down from its earlier forecast of 57,000 vehicles, and delivered fewer vehicles in Q3 than analysts had expected, at over 10,000 vehicles compared to estimates of 12,000. So it is off 6.68%. Spirit Airlines is kind of losing the spirit as shares tumbled after the Wall Street Journal report. The company has been in discussions with bondholders over the terms of potential bankruptcy filing in the wake of its failed merger with JetBlue. It's down nearly 25% today. JetBlue is skyrocketing. People, I guess, like JetBlue. It is up 16%. Look at this volume. Got into the pivot area here for a little bit and then sold off. We did not look at the airline sector. Got a little bit of a bounce here, gapping up above the 10-day moving average. While we're at it, we'll look at leisure is getting a gap up as well. Take a look at Royal Caribbean. I think this is a shining star here. Gaps up above the 10-day moving average. So that is the story there. And we continue with our news. European Commission said Friday it received enough support from the EU members to impose tariffs of up to 45% on Chinese electric vehicle imports from BYDDF, even though this one keeps rising. Did see the BYDDF vehicle when we were in Europe earlier this year, and it did look mighty nice. NEO pulls back to the 10-day moving average and is bouncing, and XPeng is bouncing up nearly 2%. Onto energy, industrials, and materials. Apogee Enterprises, Q2 adjusted EPS $1.44 versus estimate $1.23. And that is up 24%. Manufactures glass, aluminum window, and curtain wall for commercial institutional buildings. That is just about at the profit zone. So that is a huge move by them. ExxonMobil said the 17% drop in oil prices hit Q3 upstream earnings by 600 million to 1 billion. Also indicated weaker refining margins during the quarter would also hurt profits by up to 1 billion. Said the change in gas prices impact Q3 earnings by negative 200 million to 200 million plus. ExxonMobil posted 7.07 billion in upstream earnings in Q2, net profit of 9.1 billion in the year ago third quarter, or $2.25 a share. With all that being said, the shares are still moving up 1.5%, and they are in the pivot zone. I think the place to buy Exxon would have been right about here, as it cleared the 50-day moving average. Either way you slice it, it could go this way as well. So that is the story with Exxon. Valero kind of popped yesterday as well. It is down slightly today, and another star was getting buying interest yesterday, and it continues today up another 2%. Martin Midstream Partners to be acquired by Martin Resource Management Corporation in an all-cash transaction where holders would receive $4.02 per common unit owned, representing a 34% premium to the market closing price to MRMC's initial proposal on May 24th, 2024. Take a look at MR. Does not come up, but got a gap up nearly 10% on Martin Midstream Partners. Onto financials, PennyMac. PennyMac Financial Services is selling off And PennyMac Mortgage Investment Trust said William Chang is stepping down from his position as Senior Managing Director, Chief Capital Markets Officer for PFSI, and Senior Managing Director and CIO for PMT to pursue other interests in the mortgage banking industry. PennyMac Mortgage Investment Trust is up slightly, while PennyMac Financial Services is down. Ellis South America made an informal takeover proposal to U.S. peer UniFirst Trust. I'm retyping here. Bloomberg News reported on Thursday, citing people familiar with the matter. UniFirst rejects Ellis's proposal as U.S. peer Vestis holding talks with Ellis. So UniFirst is down slightly. They provide uniforms to the workplace. Down 1.51% on to healthcare. AbbVie lowered its full year 24 forecast for adjusted profit, citing the impact of $82 million in milestones and research development expenses related to acquisitions. Now sees range of 10.67 to 10.87 compared with its previous forecast of 10.71 to 10.91 per share. And it is pulling back to the 50-day moving average on that news. On to healthcare. AbbVie lowered its full year 24 forecast adjusted profit, citing the impact of $82 million in milestones. Oh, that's where we just were. Sorry about that, folks. Summit announces completion of enrollment of its phase 3 Harmon trial in 21 plus EGFRM NSCLC top-line data from Harmony trial expected in mid-2025. It tried to gap up, hit its 10-day moving average, and a lot of selling commenced. Still, it is up 1% on pretty good volume. Thermo Fisher, Greenville, North Carolina plant has been found in breach of U.S. FDA regulations, including twice this year. The FDA's most recent inspection of Thermo Fisher's plant found shortfalls in manufacturing of Sanofi treatment. Sanofi says the FDA findings were addressed, and Beyfortus doses were approved by FDA before they were shipped. So we got a little sell-off, not doing too bad, only off 0.34% on Thermo Fisher. Finally, let's move on to technology, media, and telecom. Hyundai has agreed to take vehicles equipped with Alphabet's Waymo's self-driving car technology for use in Waymo's growing autonomous fleet. The first phase of collaboration will involve integration of Waymo's 6th generation fully autonomous system into Hyundai Ioniq 5 electric SUVs. So Alphabet is up slightly. We don't have a ticker symbol for Hyundai. Warner Music downgraded to underperform from neutral at Bank of America. We can type Hyundai in here, see if anything comes up, and it does not. So there we are. Let us move on to our daily task. We looked at this earlier. There's only 2, and now we got 6 items that are up 10%, 200% increase in volume. ACM Research up 15%, 667% increase in volume as it definitely clears its average bar. Earnings are supposed to be up 16% next year. Not really sure what is happening with their shares. Barnes Group manufactures aerospace industrial components. Big volume increase, up 1,133% on volume. And the shares jumped 12.31% today, getting pretty close to the pivot zone. Capricor Therapeutics. Look at this move. I would say down here was a breakout. We got a gap up here. We got a gap up here. Huge gap up and then sell off. And then 2 more days of that. And then somebody knows something. And this thing is up 21% today. What do we got here? We got Ehang Holdings, China-based company that designs, develops, and sells autonomous aerial vehicles and services. Looks like it's working on a bottoming base. It has cleared this line here. 1602 was a buy point. It's definitely cleared that. Didn't quite get, got a double bottom over here, cleared that, and then it sold off again. And now it has definitely cleared that. They are expecting earnings to increase 92%. Jinko Solar. What do we got here? We got another bottoming base clear at 20, I guess 2070 would have been the buy point over here. Following day, it gapped up again, had a little bit of a pullback to the 200-day, and now we're up a little over 12% with 332% increase in volume. And just look at all these blue bars. And we move to Ingevity, makes specialty chemicals and high-performance carbon materials through proprietary formulated products. This looks pretty ugly right here. We got a double bottom right here. So where would you buy this? 40.30 looks to be like the buy point. The danger here is filling the gap, and it could potentially reverse course. We had huge volume here on the bounce at this moment, so I would not advise anything on that one. So that is story there. Let us KWEB, been our ETF of the day. It gaps up again today after a brief sell-off, fills the gap over here, and then continues on its original path. FXI, very similarly, it pulled back, didn't quite fill the gap, but it is gapping up again today, up 2.75%. I like FUTU. I wish I had bought more of it. I just figured if the equities in China go up, the company that sells the equities would do well, and they just are amazing me. It's almost up 50. I think I bought in late in the game. So let us continue taking a look here. Nvidia. It's kind of remaining here. We're just kind of waiting to see if it can break out above here. It did take an early position after it cleared the moving averages here. Broadcom continues to do well. Once again, I'd kind of wait and see if it can clear this area, but that looks good. Apple tried to move higher and then selling off here. Just have to wait and see what their earnings come in. Amazon, we looked at this earlier. They're gapping up today. Microsoft, slight move up, nothing much to get excited about. Netflix still remains in the pivot zone, continues to do well. We do have this in another portfolio that we're managing. And Google, I believe we looked at this at the news, up slightly. Meta continues to move up. Eli Lilly, it's down below most of its moving averages, so I'd kind of wait to see if this one can break above the 50-day moving average again. Just trying to think if I'm missing anything. Got Microsoft, Apple, Amazon, Tesla, Nvidia, Google, Meta, and Netflix. So I think that's about it. And we're going to go take a look at what we're currently doing. Oracle, continue to hold Oracle. Got a little gap up bounce. See if it can clear this 173.99. We still are holding Guardant Health. 2250 is our spread on Guardant Health. We'll see if it can get any movement. We looked at NVIDIA, BRT. Continues moving up. It's right in the pivot zone right now. We'll have to take a look, see if we want to add to that. AMSC, we sold all of our shares, but we did get back into a spread. We did 22 to 25. So AMSC got a nice move up here today. On the employment numbers, gap up, continues, gets right across there. Some nice buying. Like I said before, this should kind of alert you. Got a number of alerts. This is higher than all the selling. Big buying move over here. And then all the selling over here is on low volume, which is bullish. And then we got higher volume over here as it moves above the 50-day. Lower volume than the buying right over here. Lower buying over here, but this is professional money manager nibbling here, and we got some good volume so far today as it clears this one. So that is the story with AMSC. We looked at FUTU. I believe we looked at CRS. It's climbing there. Reddit, we did add to as it moves into the pivot zone here. Reddit is up about 7% on our buys. Elf Beauty, we do have a spread on Elf Beauty. We got rid of the bullish put spread yesterday as it turned negative, but we continue to hold the bullish spread. We have 110, 115 for December on Elf Beauty. BitX continue to, this is up 2.44% at the moment on the move in Bitcoin. We have a pretty big position in this China, Hong Kong-based digital advertising company, as it looks to be it's a little past the area where it would be a IPO base. So this would be the first institutional base, I believe. See if it can break above here. It did get up to 6, up to 7, and then had a little selling in here. So we'll continue to watch that one. Dave, we have close to a 10% position in Dave. Just trying to see our average price. Average price was 36. Right over here, we did continue to add on it, so we added at higher pricing. We bought over here another 100 shares once it cleared this. Yahoo Finance has this 12-month price on Dave at $61. So we're just going to continue to hold that. Kava Mediterranean Grill. It expires today. We sold the 132 option. So that's at 98% profit right now. And then we bought the 125, 130 spread. About 6 of those, so that's now in the money today on Kava. And finally is A-Lab, recent IPO. We bought right here. Felt on this move up here, there would be a handle. The handle pulled back to the 20-day moving average, and now it has cleared the 10-day moving average today, up a little over 6%. So that's kind of what we're doing. This is a company that we have in the portfolio that we're managing. Got a nice bounce over here. This is a very similar company, FTAI. Joby is also in this aviation. Got a big move up here, pulled back, and is holding right around $6. This is a company that's working on a flying taxi. Had jumped on the Joby news, and I was pulled back. So we'll continue to watch this one as well. And that wraps up our show for Friday. Go out there and enjoy your Aloha Friday. Thanks for tuning in. We'll have a weekend update. Mornings with Michael for information and educational purposes only, where we continue to try to help you make your money work harder than you do. Have a great weekend.